Welcome back to Bonkers for Boro with me, Phil Spencer. It's been a really exciting week on the transfer front. That's followed on from the 3-0 victory over Millwall at the weekend, a result which has sent Middlesbrough soaring to the top end of the championship table, and it's really sort of lifted the anxiety around supporters that we had going into the start of this campaign. Now, of course, Middlesbrough had only made a couple of new additions before the start of the campaign, but since then things have really started to heat up, and you can really start to see this squad coming together under Rob Edwards, and the two new signings this week have really gone a long way to doing exactly that. Now, the first signing was Sverre Nypen. It was a deal which was revealed last week from Fabrizio Romano, none other than, with regards to that potential loan deal from Manchester City. Now, for those that don't know, Sverre Nypen is a player who was regarded as one of the hottest young prospects in European football, and I don't say that lightly. He's a player who's the true definition of a wonder kid. He had a number of top clubs around the continent chasing his signature. Middlesbrough were one of them. They had been tracking his progress at Rosenborg over the last couple of seasons, and there was a hope that Middlesbrough would be able to secure a permanent deal to sign him as another up-and-coming young talent in the same sort of mould as someone like Rav van den Berg. But I think as soon as it emerged that the likes of Manchester City, I think some of the other clubs were included, the likes of Barcelona, who wanted to sign him, as soon as those clubs kind of entered the market for him, it became pretty apparent quite quickly that Middlesbrough would find it very, very tricky to sign him on a permanent basis. Now, Nypan ultimately signed for Manchester City on a deal worth £12.5 million. He signed a long-term contract. He's a player who's going to be very much a part of Man City's long-term plans, whether that's under Pep Guardiola or the next manager or however that sort of works. But part of his development has been this season being sanctioned to go out on a season-long loan deal in English football to increase his development. Now, Middlesbrough and Man City, they enjoy a good relationship. There's been a couple of deals over the last couple of seasons where the clubs have worked closely together. Of course, Middlesbrough were able to sign Morgan Rogers from Manchester City before he ultimately went on to Aston Villa. We signed Mika Hamilton last summer as well, another player who was very, very highly rated at the Etihad Stadium. And so this was another deal which just goes to show how close that relationship is, and the fact that Middlesbrough are trusted to develop one of these players who has a really, really high ceiling in terms of his potential. Now, for Middlesbrough, this is a deal which is exciting. He's a player who's a central midfielder. He's 18 years of age. He's a very technically gifted player, but he's also quite a physical player. He's someone who will play as a number 8 or a number 10, someone who could potentially be a replacement for Hayden Hackney. We're not too sure on that one yet, because it obviously depends on what will happen with Hackney and during the rest of this summer. But Nypan isn't the only player that Middlesbrough have made progress with this week, and that's because the club are closing in on a deal to sign Adilson Malenda. Now, Malenda's a central defender. He currently plays for Charlotte FC in the MLS. He's a player who's very, very highly rated, 23 years old, a big, powerful presence, and someone that Middlesbrough were very, very keen to sign, as were a number of other clubs around Europe, including PSV Eindhoven. Now, as part of this deal, which is reportedly worth around about £6 million, the deal also includes a loan back clause, which sees Middlesbrough send Malenda back to Charlotte until the end of the MLS season. Now, the MLS season typically runs until the back end of the calendar year. It usually comes to an end around about October, November sort of time, but it kind of depends on how Charlotte do. If they get into the playoffs and that sort of thing, it can push into a November, December sort of time. So he's going to be going back to Charlotte. He's going to be continuing the season there and finishing off the campaign. And then he'll be linking up with Middlesbrough following a short break after that. Now, Malenda, he won't be able to play for Middlesbrough until the January transfer window opens. That's when the registration window opens. So that's when Middlesbrough will be able to register him, and then it will then be available to play in the Championship and the FA Cup for Rob Edwards' side. But it's another really, really exciting deal. Of course, Middlesbrough have been looking for more quality in central defence. We do have a number of bodies there, but a couple of the players we've sort of mentioned it on previous videos about how they've sort of struggled for fitness, the likes of Darragh Lenihan. But of course, Middlesbrough lost Rav van den Berg last week as well. So this could be seen as someone to come in and sort of fill that void as another quality option in central defence. So a really, really exciting deal. But what does it mean for Middlesbrough? I caught up with Craig Johns from Teesside Live. He caught up with me from his holiday, sent me a voice note on the two signings and what Middlesbrough fans can potentially expect from the duo after they arrive at the Riverside Stadium.
I think the first thing I'd say is that both for Middlesbrough are very eye-catching signings, but with different objectives. Starting with Sverre Nypan, that's obviously a loan and therefore a short-term objective, and a player who Middlesbrough have looked at over the years, but ultimately lost out because there was so much kind of top-tier, elite interest in Nypan. And in the end, Middlesbrough were well aware that they were going to lose out to an elite club, and it just so happened that it ended up being Manchester City this summer. But as it happened, Middlesbrough have very good relations with Manchester City, and clearly at the age of 18, Nypan was going to struggle to play games for Manchester City this season, and it benefited all parties really for Nypan to go out on loan this summer. And as I say, Middlesbrough have good relations with that football club anyway, have proven very astute at being able to develop young talent in recent years and have grown a reputation for that. And as a result of that, we're able to kind of jump the queue ahead of some kind of big European clubs in order to get Nypan here on loan. A very good midfield player from what we understand. He certainly looks like he's got the body shape to be strong enough to handle the championship and to handle the English game. From what we understand, he's kind of a box to box midfielder, or certainly a more attack minded midfielder, someone who will like to get on the ball and like to go forward with it, a bit like Hayden Hackney. Um, and he'll enjoy kind of trying to arrive in and around the box in the opportune moments to grab a few goals here and there. So, an 18-year-old kid, but somebody who's already played at a very high level and played a number of games already for Rosenborg in Norway. So yeah, certainly a short term objective with that one, but someone Middlesbrough are very excited about and feel can certainly do a job for them. The second of those, of course, is Adilson Malenda, who is coming in from Charlotte FC, and this one's very much it's another eye-catching deal in that Middlesbrough are beating off some really good competition from the likes of Club Bruges, Benfica, PSV were close to signing him earlier in the summer. Middlesbrough have ultimately been able to get this deal done with Charlotte FC because there's an agreement there to loan the 23-year-old back to Charlotte for the remainder of the MLS season. So with this one, unlike the Nypan one, it's a longer term objective to this sign, and somebody that Middlesbrough have admired for a long time and really like, and ultimately by agreeing to this loan back clause in the agreement, they've been able to move ahead of some big clubs to land Malanda. What we know about him, he's a very big centre half. He's very good on the ball, but also very strong and very aerially dominant. Tops a lot of good metrics in MLS this season. So understandable that Charlotte would be keen to keep hold of him until the end of their MLS season, which depending on how far they go, if they make playoffs, and then how far they go in those playoffs, could be towards the end of November. Obviously, once that then finishes, Boro plan to give him a bit of a break, and he'll be back. But because of the loan terms, he wouldn't be able to be registered to play for Middlesbrough in any case until January, when the registration window will reopen. So it doesn't really matter really whether Charlotte make the playoffs or go far in the playoffs. Either way, um, Malanda will eventually be a Middlesbrough player in terms of being ready to play for Middlesbrough by January. And yeah, as I say, another eye-catching signing because of the kind of clubs that Middlesbrough have beaten to get him. And yeah, it's one where ultimately to land him with that longer term objective, they were happy to do it because in Rob Edwards' current system, they have six centre backs already, including Luke Ayling and Neto Borges, who have been playing as centre backs within this system. So there's a confidence really that's fine, that they're going to be okay to do that. It gives them a bit of a bit of an option really when we come roll around to January, if we get to January, and one of those six, Darragh Lenihan, is of course a big uncertainty heading into the new season because of all of his injury troubles, and he is back fit soon, and there's hope that, having looked quite good before his injury in pre-season, that he can still go on and have a good season. But yeah, obviously having that kind of backup option, if you like, of knowing that Melander's going to be coming in January is a good one to have, and could free up a need in January, what would have otherwise been a need in January if Lenihan or anyone else for that matter were to kind of have serious injuries issues between now and January. So yeah, two eye catching signings for Middlesbrough, and more very good business for the club.
So that was Craig Johns giving us the update on the two new players coming into Middlesbrough and what they can potentially bring to the club over the course of this campaign. But I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on Sverre Nypan? What are your thoughts on Adilson Malenda and what he could bring to the club once he arrives in January? Drop into the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on the two new signings. And if you have enjoyed this video, please do hit like. Please hit subscribe as well, because there's going to be plenty more videos coming up very, very soon. I'll catch you later.